Hello, Steve Kendall, Security Pacific Real Estate, Richmond, California. Today I want to share a real estate related story. It's a true story, and I'm going to call this one a deadly encounter. So during the real estate market crash between the years of 2008 to 2012, I was working with a number of banks to sell bank-owned homes, homes that had been foreclosed. Once the foreclosure process was finalized, I was assigned to verify that the previous owners had vacated the property. And there was one in particular that I dealt with that I will never forget. I received a request from a bank representative to verify if a particular house was vacant. And when I arrived at this property, what I saw was a beautiful Victorian home that had been carefully maintained. It had gorgeous paint colors to accentuate the decorative finishes of the building, and the yard was also groomed with loving care. I approached the front door and knocked. A younger male answered the door. I handed him my business card, and as I was about to speak, another young male showed up, curious about what was going on. I explained to both of them that I represented the bank, and I was asked to verify if the home was vacant. And the second guy quickly said, we are not leaving, and you're never going to get us out of here. And with that, he slammed the door on me. So back in my office, I let the bank representative know how it went, and he told me to go back and offer a payment of $2,500 to vacate the property. So I went back, I shared the offer to the occupants, and they just laughed, and they said, "No way." So after several communications with the bank rep, he asked me to go back and now offer him a payment of $4,000 to leave. Again, I went back and I shared this new offer with them, and again, they turned it down. At this point, the bank decided to get the sheriff involved. We scheduled a date for the sheriff to do a lockout, and we scheduled a locksmith to be there at the same time. I decided to take one last try to get the occupants to take that money that was being offered to them. Predictably, they said no, and they told me I was wasting my and their time. I let them know that the sheriff had already scheduled a date and time to show up and forcibly remove them from the home that they no longer owned. At this point, one of the partners got furious and started screaming at me, saying if the sheriff showed up at their home to forcibly remove them, they will be met with gunfire. And the only way they would leave is to have their dead bodies carried out. And with that, they slammed the door shut on me, and they would never speak to me again. Needless to say, I left there feeling very anxious about any kind of positive outcome with those two. Back at the office, I contacted the bank representative, and I updated him with the latest development. Needless to say, he was really concerned, and he immediately contacted the sheriff's department to relay the new information to them. They too were concerned, and they said that they would be ready to deal with the couple, and they would do their best to avoid any kind of a dangerous confrontation. Finally, the day arrived for the sheriff's lockout. Now, I was expected to be there because I represented the bank, and quite honestly, I think I would have rather sat through a root canal than be there. But they expected me to be there. The locksmith and I arrived about the same time, and we parked around the corner so as not to let the occupants know we were there. Then the sheriffs arrived, two of them with a police dog. They took the dog and approached the front door and began pounding on it, stating loudly who they were and to open the door. Nothing happened. We could all feel tension rising, wondering what the occupants were going to do next. The sheriff pulled out their guns and again knocked loudly on the door, announcing who they were and for them to open the door. Again, eerily silent. Tension continued to rise in me to the point where I was now having a hard time breathing because I knew what was coming next. Forcible entry. So the sheriff called out to the locksmith and asked him to come up and unlock the door. So he approached the front door cautiously, and as quietly as he could, he unlocked the door. As he stood there, one of the sheriffs said, "You might want to get out of the line of fire just in case." And no sooner had he said that than the locksmith came flying down that walkway and around the corner to where I was standing. The sheriffs opened the door, and they both quickly entered with the dog, both of their guns drawn, yelling, "Come out with your hands up." The locksmith and I stood there listening for something, anything. Gunfire, physical confrontation, property being tossed around. Nothing. There was complete silence. This really worried me. As we stood there, we were wondering what was going on. I mean, we could hear the sheriffs yelling back and forth to each other. We couldn't make out what they were saying. After what seemed like an eternity, both officers and the dog came back outside with their guns back in their holsters. They informed us the house was now vacant, and I could now take over the responsibility of the property. We both breathed such a huge sigh of relief because we were so glad that was over. So the locksmith proceeded to change all the locks, and he gave me all the new keys, and off he went. Thankfully, the previous owners were all talk. I mean, it could have ended so badly in so many ways, but it didn't. I can't wait for my next sheriff's lockout. Thanks for watching. See you next time.